morning, everybody. Okay, so yesterday we talked about a little bit of editing. I showed you a little bit about how I run through the process of editing my barn videos, and that kind of goes for any kind of video that I'm editing, because it's basically the same process. You're looking for music, you're playing with the clips and the footage and pictures and different ways to fade and cut and go from each clip to the next clip, to really tell the story and engage your audience. Now, let me say before I go any further, tomorrow I'm going somewhere awesome to film, and so Saturday morning's morning show will be a very good one. It's going to be really fun, and it's going to be really awesome, as long as nothing happens to prevent me from doing this. But anyways, so back on track here. What I wanted to talk about today, as I'm editing my next barn video here, I keep going over things in my mind, and when I went with my dad on this run, we went on the long run. It was a 2-day thing, and we filmed, I think, 13 barns on the whole run. Let me position this a little bit better. I feel like I'm going like this. That's a little bit better. Okay, so we went on this run. It was a 2-day run. We stayed at a hotel. We filmed about 13 barns, I think, on the whole run. And there are some things that I have learned along that trip, maybe not necessarily that I didn't know, but that I didn't really adhere to, like little rules that I follow when I'm out filming myself, that I maybe kind of tossed aside while we were on this trip. And there was a few reasons for that. So in no specific order, I'm just going to talk about some of those things that I learned while I was on this trip. And the first thing that I want to talk about is that if somebody else is going to go with me on one of these trips, and there's a lot of people who want to go, and I want to take people with me. That's been the plan from the very beginning. I would do a handful of them myself, and I would have other people go with me. I think it's a little bit more interesting when you involve other people. But one thing that I need to do is that I need to make it perfectly clear to whoever is going with me what the process consists of, because like my dad, he suggested we take a giant trip like this, to run out, take a 2-day trip, stay at a hotel, and get as many barns as we could. So I planned it out for as many barns as we could possibly get on that trip, and we were both absolutely exhausted when it was over with. But what I failed to do with him was to really explain to him the process and everything that doing this consists of. Before we even started out, it was a 45-minute preparation just to get all my cameras ready and figure out different things I wanted to film, different places where I could put my camera on the dashboard, how I was going to mount it there. And, I do anything to get the shot. So one of the things that I did was my iPhone 5 is the camera that I used on the dashboard, and it has a big magnet on the back. There was nowhere I could mount it. I didn't have any of these at the time, so I couldn't just hook that up. So what I did was, I have this little fan on my desk here. You can just barely see it. The cord is preventing me from pulling it over. But it has this little thing here with the 3 rubber feet, and what I did was, I set that on the dash, right where the corner is, so it would hold still, and I just stuck the phone right on there with the magnet, and it held it right there, so it worked great. But that was one of the things that I needed to prepare. Know where my cameras were going to be. I had to prepare the chargers in the car so I would be able to charge the cameras while we're driving. I had to be able to access all my other stuff like my laptop, because we had to stop every once in a while so that I could transfer my photos and my footage and that to clear up my cameras again, so I could use them for the next barn. And I didn't explain any of this to him. I didn't explain how the process works, what all goes into filming these things and creating an episode out of going to find a barn. To him, it was just let's jump in a car, let's go get to these things one after another as quick as we could, get the pictures done, and get out of there and be done with it. And that's not at all how it works. This is a very extensive, very time-consuming process. So if anybody's watching right now, even, who's going to be going with me on one of these trips, I need you to know that this is a very extensive, time-consuming process. We don't just run straight to the barn and then it's done. If I see something along the way that I want to film that'd be interesting for the episode, we stop and we film it and we spend time there. I'm filming the roads on every direction while we're driving, and if we pass something that I think would look cool and we miss it, we're going back so we can pass it again because I want to get that in the video. The purpose of being out here and going to these barns is to create a fun, engaging episode getting to the barn. Once we get to the barn, it's all good. All we're out there doing is taking pictures of the barn, getting a couple of selfies with the barn, and then it's on to the next one. The story is basically in the trip getting there. And as you can see if you've been watching, there's not a whole lot of story to the last couple of videos that I posted. Partially because there was nothing out there. There's nothing but trees and cornfields and that. I should have made an effort to stop and film something to make it a little bit more interesting or come up with some kind of a conversation with my dad or something, but that kind of leads to the next thing, and that is you have to eliminate all the background sounds. A lot of time in the truck, I notice when I'm editing here that we had like the air on, we had the AC on, and so you're struggling to hear what I'm saying over the air conditioning, and I haven't found a way in editing where I can take out the sound of the air conditioning and just hear my voice. I can sharpen it up a little bit, but that's about the best I can do. So a lot of the time it just sounds muffled and I feel like you're trying to figure out what it is I'm saying. I noticed a couple times my dad had the window down, and why I didn't think of this while I was on the road filming, I don't know. But it's definitely something that I need to remember when I'm out there again. I don't do that kind of thing when I'm filming. If I'm in my own car, I turn off the air, I put up the windows, I make sure that it is quiet in there, as quiet as it can be, and then I film. So why I didn't really think about it while I was with him, I don't know, but that's something else that I need to keep in mind. Another thing that's kind of along the same lines is that if anything interrupts your shot or whatever you're filming right there, you need to do a retake. There are so many times when I noticed sounds and little interruptions and things in the background, and I did not take the time to do a retake. One specifically is my dad clearing his throat. He has this habit of clearing his throat really loud. Like out of nowhere he goes, "Huh!" really loud. And I'm sorry if I scared the crap out of you right there. But that's what he did the entire time while we're on this trip. And I'm not making fun of him, that's just his habit, that's the way he clears his throat. But for some reason, in a couple episodes, when I was filming and I'm talking and I'm saying, okay, we're going to this barn next, it's going to be barn number 82, or da-da-da-da-da-da-da, he's in the background, really loud, and I just keep talking. And I don't know if I just got so used to hearing it that I just kind of, didn't notice or what. But I need to be aware of that. And if I need to do a retake, I need to do a retake, because that sounds horrible in the final product. And just one more thing I'm going to mention here. This is not everything, but one more thing I'm going to mention is my camera work. It is very important, and I've been working on this ever since the day I got back. It is very important to find different things like this. This is a, I guess people know it as a GorillaPod. You can bend these things all over. It's like a tripod. This holds the camera. It's very important to have those kinds of things so you can stabilize your shot. I showed you guys in a few episodes back where I bought some of these things kind of like this, but it has like a suction cup on the bottom, and you stick it to your window, and then you position your camera, and I can turn it whichever way I want so that it's pointing forward or to the side or whatever, so that way I don't have to actually hold the camera and try to film what's out the side windows or the front while I'm trying to drive the car. All I have to do is hit record and focus on where I'm going and talking to the one camera in there, talking to you guys, the audience. But I wasn't prepared for that on this trip, and it really shows, and it drives me crazy. Maybe it doesn't bother you guys at all, maybe you don't even realize it, but a lot of the times I'm holding the cameras like this, and I'm going out the window, and I'm filming the road ahead of us, and it's like bouncing around like this, or I notice there's a big crack in the front windshield, and it goes right across the picture. And that stuff drives me crazy. Now, to an extent, I like it because it makes it look a little bit more natural. It makes it look a little bit more like a documentary film. But I don't want the whole thing to look like that. When it all looks like that, it looks sloppy. It looks like a little kid filmed it. And it doesn't look good, and it doesn't look professional. So those are just a handful of things that I kind of learned from this trip that I need to be more aware of, I need to pay more attention to. And if I can just throw one more thing in there, I need to get a good microphone. I found one, I just haven't bought it yet. But I definitely need to get a good microphone, because especially when there's somebody with you, I'm sitting over here, my dad's sitting over here, the camera is up here, and it catches what I'm saying pretty good, but when he's talking, it sounds like he's talking really quiet and you can hardly hear him. So I have to go in editing, and I have to try to raise that, and then of course that also raises the sound of the air conditioning and the road and the window and everything else. So I need to make sure that I get a good microphone, and just have, my whole setup a little bit better prepared. So, I don't know, guys. I mean, maybe this stuff isn't interesting to you. I love it. I love it to death. And it's what I want to continue to do for the rest of my life. I just love doing stuff like this. Like I said, tomorrow I'm going somewhere awesome to film, and it'll be more along the lines that the morning shows usually are, where we're out having fun and seeing some animal friends. So be looking forward to that. That'll be Saturday morning. Otherwise, make sure that you come back every morning and watch the show. Make sure that you're watching all the barn videos. I put a lot of time and effort into them, and they're only going to get better. We have like 65 more to go after I finish posting all of the ones that my dad and I filmed together, because we did knock out 13 barns while we were out on that run. It was a really good time. I'm really looking forward to these other people going with me. Wally and Manny Quackiao and Richard and Kara and my daughter and my sons. And just, I have a whole lot of plans. I'm really looking forward to banging out the rest of these episodes. It's going to be really fun. Going to be filming in the fall with the leaves falling off, the leaves changing colors. Without any leaves on the trees at all, then it's going to be snowing, sleeting, and everything else. And it's going to be pretty interesting. So, all right, guys, wherever you're waking up, whatever time it is, make the best of your day. Do something for somebody else, pay it forward, and let's make this world a better place. I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace.